Hi, y'all, and welcome to tonight's live stream. It is never a good sign when you are mentioned 49 times by name on the first day of somebody else's criminal trial. But that is exactly what happened to Donna Adelson. Her name came up 49 times, and that is just the number of times she was called by name. She was also called mom or mother 88 times, mostly while the state was asking Wendi Adelson questions. Prosecutors were not at all bashful. They stated up front that they fully believed that Donna Adelson is a co-conspirator in the plot to hire hitmen and to murder her ex-son-in-law, Dan Markel. And they think she is every bit as guilty as her son, Charlie Adelson. Now, Dan Markel was a law professor in Tallahassee, Florida, recently divorced from Wendi Adelson, Donna's daughter. And prosecutors did also make it clear that they think Wendi is involved in the plot too. So Dan Markel murdered. Then there are 4 members of the Adelson family. One of them has already been convicted of the crime. That's Charlie Adelson. He is convicted of going to his girlfriend, Katie Medbanowa, and asking her to hire hitmen. And she then hired her ex, Sigfredo Garcia, as well as a buddy of his, Luis Rivera. And so Charlie has been convicted along with Katie Medbanowa, Luis Rivera, and Sigfredo Garcia. Now the prosecution is going after Donna Adelson. She is the mother of Charlie and the mother of Wendi. Wendi Adelson is one who was married to Dan Markel, and Donna is married to Harvey. Harvey would be the dad of Wendi and Charlie. So hopefully we can get this up for you next time. But in case everybody has forgotten all the names, now we at least have that. So let me head back over here to this other screen so I can see what I was going to talk to you about next. Okay, so 2 weeks after Charlie was convicted, and by the way, it was in pretty quick order by a unanimous jury, authorities arrested Donna. She was trying to board a flight to Vietnam, and jail phone calls were released in which Donna was talking to Charlie, and she said explicitly that she had picked Vietnam because it was a non-extradition country. In other words, a country that did not have a treaty to send people back to the United States if they were arrested there. Doesn't mean they wouldn't do that, but there's not a treaty to make it easy and quick. So if she wanted out of the U.S., Donna clearly waited too long because authorities were there and they arrested her as she was trying to board the flight. She is a 73-year-old grandmother. She has now been in jail for 1.5 years awaiting trial. She was not granted bail in large part because of the fact that she did attempt to flee the country there. So several times the judge has tried to set a trial date in the case, and it gets postponed for one reason or another. But the judge has been very clear that that is not going to happen for the August 19th trial date that is coming up. Just 3 weeks from now, she is to go on trial. Does the state have enough evidence to convict Donna Adelson? We are going to be doing a series of deep dives over the next few weeks leading up to the trial, looking at the evidence that we know about, that we know the state will present, and some of the new evidence that the state has been lining up against Donna Adelson. Some of that new evidence will be a surprise. We won't know that until trial. They've had hearings about some of it, but a lot of it has been under seal and we don't have full information. We do have clues and we will get into all of those. So special shout out to our first 5 in tonight's chat: Mildred Just Mildred, Susie Q, Lexi, Tennis Girl 101, and Villanelle's Boots. By the way, would you hit the like button on this video? That lets YouTube know, hello, we're here. I would appreciate that. And also, if you aren't subscribed, be sure to subscribe. We would love to have you back for more videos. All right, so let's talk about what's coming up for Donna Adelson. And what I want to start with is what was already said about her at Charlie's trial. She did not attend a single day of that trial. She was originally going to be a witness, but ultimately that didn't happen. She didn't come at all. And yet she was a huge presence at the trial. And so let's talk a little bit about the quick view of what happened to Dan Markel. On July 18th, 2014, he was shot in his own garage by two hitmen. Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia pulled their car in right behind him, walked up to his window, and shot him there in his car. Both of them are serving prison sentences. So is Katie Medbanawa, who was dating Charlie and hired Sigfredo. And she had been in a relationship with Sigfredo for many years. Charlie was convicted of hiring the hitman through Katie. And prosecutors say Donna was not only in on it, but very much involved in the whole planning. So why would a grandmother in her 60s want her son-in-law, even an ex-son-in-law, dead? Prosecutors say it all goes back to the very bitter divorce between Wendi Adelson and Dan Markel. The divorce was over. They were actually divorced, but the custody disputes were nowhere near ending, and they were still filing motions and arguments over that. Now, prosecutors have charged Donna with three things here. Number one, first-degree murder, the killing of Dan Markel by shooting him with a firearm, and said it was premeditated. They've also charged Donna with solicitation to commit first-degree murder, that she solicited Charlie Adelson and others to commit first-degree murder, and she engaged in specific conduct toward that. And then conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, that she conspired with Charlie and other people to commit first-degree murder and engaged in specific conduct toward that. Now, one question is, will there be more charges because of conduct by Donna after she got in jail? We just saw that in another case we covered, the James Craig dental case. And by the way, if you haven't watched that, please go watch that. It is definitely worth watching. So it's not clear that any additional charges will be filed for that, but it may be evidence within the case presently filed against her. So let's take a look at some of the things that were said by various people. But I want to start with an opening statement by the prosecution and then by the defense, because Donna's name was on the prosecutor's lips within the first minute of the time she stood up to talk about the case. I mean, literally minute one, Donna Adelson is already being mentioned.
Of their divorce case file revealed that Wendi Adelson asked the court to allow her to move back to Miami, where she was from, with the kids, in order to be near her parents, whose names are Harvey and Donna Adelson, and her brother, the defendant. Dan Markel was adamantly opposed to his children being relocated to Miami. He was a law professor here in Tallahassee. This is where he lived. This is where his kids have been raised. He wanted his kids to live here with him. And for this custody dispute, the judge ended up ruling in Dan Markel's favor. So Wendi Adelson was not permitted to move to Miami with the children. Unless, of course, something happened to Dan Markel. A review of Wendi Adelson's emails revealed that her mother, Donna Adelson, hated Dan Markel and was desperate to find a way for Wendi and her children, who were Donna Adelson's grandchildren, to be able to move to Miami. Donna Adelson suggests in these emails that y'all will hear about several ways that Wendi Adelson could threaten or bully Dan Markel into submission, into getting what she wanted him to do. Donna Adelson even suggested offering Dan Markel a $1 million bribe to allow the relocation, and even said that this defendant, Charlie Adelson, would pay a third of that $1 million bribe to Dan Markel to make that happen.
So from the beginning, you can see the prosecution is setting this as really all about Donna. Donna Adelson is the driving force. It's Donna who's upset because Donna may not have enough time, enough of her life that she can spend with her grandchildren. She wants more. And she's busy going around trying to collect, a third here from each from Charlie, a third from them, a third from Wendi, setting up some way she can get more time with the grandchildren and edge their father, Dan Markel, out of the picture. She was especially furious, the prosecutors believe, when Dan Markel actually moved to prevent her from having unsupervised visitation from his grandkids. We're going to hear a little more about this as we go through the first day of testimony at Charlie's trial and talk about the references to Donna. But the idea was that she would not be allowed to be with them unsupervised. And obviously that was going to cut down significantly on her ability to be with her kids. So this is, so here's the prosecutor.
He alleged that Donna Adelson was disparaging him to his children by saying bad things about him. And he asked the court to enter an order preventing Donna Adelson from having unsupervised contact with her grandchildren. This motion was still pending in court when Dan Markel was killed. And just about 48 hours after the shooting, Wendi Adelson and the little boys relocated to Miami. Shortly thereafter, moved into a home within walking distance of the Adelsons' Miami home. Within a year of Dan Markel's murder, Wendi Adelson legally changed Dan Markel's son's last name from Markel to Adelson. And just like that, their father was just effectively erased from their lives at 3 and 4. And the Adelsons' family, their big problem had been solved.
So I want to say a special shout out to a longtime subscriber, regular participant, Michael Lalonde. Happy birthday on Sunday. And Mama Pinks is saying the same thing. Mama Pinks and Marlon are our moderators, and I so appreciate what they do every time we go live, and I really appreciate their work as mods. And Michael is telling us he has ordered cupcakes from Publix for tomorrow. Chocolate with green and yellow icing, not surprised at all. Those of us who are regulars, we know that Michael loves colors and green is his very favorite. So happy birthday, Michael. We hope you have a great weekend. All right, so the prosecutor believes that Charlie, as I said, paid his girlfriend, Katie Medbanwa, to hire Sigfredo Garcia, her ex-boyfriend, and Luis Rivera, and they were the ones who actually committed in person the murder.
About 2 months after the murder, the defendant added Catherine Medbanwa to the payroll at the Adelson Institute. And she began receiving regular checks from their business account every 2 weeks for 2 years after the murder. And this was despite the fact that she did not work at the Adelson Institute.
Now, this is going to be a really important point because Donna Adelson is actually the one who wrote the checks to Katie Medbanwa, who did not work for them. And so what the prosecution is going to say is this is a direct link between Donna and Katie Medbanwa, who hired the hitmen. So this is a direct link where she is actually signing documents connected to the murder of Dan Markel. They are going to claim that's one of the important ways that they can prove she participated and was involved. Now, more than a year after the murders, law enforcement got permission to tap the phone calls between Charlie and Katie Medbanwa. But the problem was that by that time, Katie and Charlie had broken up. So they weren't talking about the murder of Dan Markel anymore. And it was a year before, so they really weren't talking about it at all. So law enforcement set up something called the bump. Donna Adelson specifically was the target. This is going to be important in her trial because they actually have video of her in the process of the bump. Let's hear the prosecutor describe what happened.
So police needed to stage an event that would generate conversation between the conspirators about the murder. And the plan was to send an undercover agent posing as somebody on behalf of Luis Rivera, who was incarcerated, to walk up to Donna Adelson on the street and try to extort money out of her. And law enforcement refers to this as the bump. So this undercover agent walks up to Donna Adelson one day as she's leaving the Adelson Institute during the day. The undercover agent hands Donna Adelson a piece of paper, and on the piece of paper is an article about the murder of Dan Markel with his picture on it and, FSU professor killed. Also on the piece of paper are a phone number and the amount of $5,000. The undercover agent tells Donna Adelson that he knows that the Adelsons are taking care of Katie, and he's there to extort money out of her on Rivera's behalf in order to even things out. The undercover agent never says the defendant's name or anything about the defendant's involvement to Donna Adelson.
She's talking about Charlie.
Then
right?
law enforcement listens to see what will happen next. Will Donna Adelson go straight to the police to report this extortion attempt, or will something else entirely happen? As suspected, based on the previously observed communication pattern, the first person that Donna Adelson calls after the bump is the defendant, despite the fact that the undercover agent never mentioned the defendant to her. On that first call, one would think that Donna Adelson would say to her son, it's so crazy, some man came up to me and he's handed me this article about Danny's murder, and he's seems like he's demanding money from us. She never says any of that. In fact, she never says Dan Markel's name at all. Instead, she tells the defendant that she needs to talk to him in person, not over the phone, about some paperwork that was hand-delivered to her. She said that this paperwork, she says this to the defendant, it involves the two of us, and that he should know what she's talking about. She says that he should bring cash to their meeting. And she also says that this TV is about 5.
Now, I want to go back through one of the things she just said there. She said that in the course of the bump and the telephone call between Donna and Charlie, that afterwards, after Donna's been approached, that she says it involves the two of us. That's going to be important in an argument that will be made if the state tries to extend to Wendi and to Harvey, because they're both going to say, why, look, Donna said it was just the two of them. I wasn't involved. But as far as Donna is concerned, this is super strong evidence, because it shows not just a connection between Donna and Charlie, but knowledge about what the meaning of the bump was. Where should she go with this information? And the prosecutor said, it's not the police. That's not where she goes. Instead, she goes to Charlie and says, this is about the two of us. And she says cryptically that it has to do, this TV is about 5. Now, what the prosecutor argues that means is code words. That's sort of a description about a TV that was broken the day that Dan Markel was murdered, and someone came out to the house. Wendi was there to meet them, and that was going to be, the prosecutor says, her alibi, the proof that Wendi could not have been there, could not have been shooting Dan Markel. She was still at her house with the TV repairman. This is about 5 refers to how much they were asking her for. All of this, of course, ropes Donna in to the bump and what happens next. They were right. She would go straight to Charlie, and they figured Charlie would go straight to Katie, and that was correct also.
Donna Adelson tells the defendant that the man who approached her mentioned an ex-girlfriend. Donna Adelson never says which ex-girlfriend she's referring to. He never asked that, because as the evidence will show, he didn't need to. He knew that this TV is about 5 meant that she was being blackmailed about Danny's murder for $5,000. and he knew that the ex-girlfriend in question was Catherine McBanois. And we know that because after this call with his mother, who's the defendant? The defendant calls Catherine McBanois.
And we know from the videos that we saw at the first trial that after the bump, Charlie goes to meet with Katie in person at a local restaurant. And that meeting became the most important piece of evidence in the case because the FBI, as she's going to explain, was sitting right there recording it.
An undercover FBI agent sat at a table nearby with a hidden camera in their bag and recorded this conversation. And in the recording, we hear the defendant discussing whether the man who walked up to his mom could be an undercover police officer or someone who's trying to blackmail them. And if it's the latter, if it's a blackmailer, is it somebody who's just trying to make a quick buck? Or is it somebody who actually knows information from the inside? The defendant reassures Catherine McBanois that if it is the police, that's a good thing. The defendant thinks that if it's the police, that means that they do not have enough evidence to charge anybody. In fact, the defendant tells her if they had any evidence, we would have already gone to the airport.
Hugely important because remember what happened. Donna Adelson actually did go to the airport. She actually was arrested at the airport. That was prophetic, and also it's going to be disastrous for Donna Adelson because it fits exactly with what she did. And that will be extremely important, I think, at her trial. I believe it will come into evidence, and I think it's going to be important because she did try to go to the airport, and she did try to leave. Just as Charlie insinuates, if they had any evidence, it would be a reason to flee the country. And that's exactly what the prosecution says Donna Adelson was trying to do. I'm going to say welcome to Virginia, who's a new member. Welcome. Now, in the defense opening statement, Charlie's lawyer, who was Daniel Roshbaum, argued that the state instantly suspected the Adelsons and made a whole bunch of false assumptions about them. For example, he said Charlie didn't really care all that much about his sister moving down to South Florida, but on the other hand, Charlie's lawyer admitted, okay, yeah, Donna really cared.
And the motion was denied. When it was denied, it didn't change Charlie Adelson's life one bit. But unlike Charlie, his mom and dad were upset. They were upset because their daughter had a job opportunity in South Florida. She had no family support in Tallahassee. And they wanted her home. And you will see that Donna and Harvey Adelson are very involved in their children's lives. We won't run away from that. You will see that Donna Adelson and Harvey came up with a lot of crazy ideas. Take a look if any of them includes murder. Doesn't. And you're going to see that Wendi Adelson, she rejected them. She rejected the ideas. They were never presented to Dan Markel.
So this is an area where the case against Donna Adelson will be a little stronger than the case against Charlie Adelson was, because some of these crazy ideas that he's talking about came from Donna, well, pretty much all of them, and not from Charlie. So while it was mentioned in Charlie's trial, these were not things Charlie himself had said or written, but they will be things that Donna actually wrote, Donna actually said.
The idea wasn't to take the boys out of Professor Markel's life. The idea was that with the $1 million, if Professor Markel agreed, he could live in South Florida and commute back and forth to Tallahassee. He could work out his schedule. He didn't teach every day of the week. He could work out his schedule so that he could still teach at the university and go back and forth. You're going to see that Wendi Adelson never made that offer.
So, by the way, if you are just coming into the live stream, welcome. We are so glad to have you. Would you please hit the like button and subscribe? We would love to have you back. So, Donna Donna had suggested, and there are emails stating this, that they give Dan Markel $1 million, a third coming from Donna and Harvey, a third from Charlie, and a third from Wendi. And that would allow him, according to the defense, to travel back and forth to Tallahassee so that he would be willing to move down to Miami and live there with the boys. He didn't want to move to Miami because he worked in Tallahassee, and he didn't want the kids being moved to Miami because he worked in Tallahassee. So the prosecution put in the fact that a few months before, and just a few, about 3 months before Dan Markel was killed, he filed a motion about Donna herself, actually related to Donna and including the custody of the grandchildren.
March 26th of 2014, did Mr. Markel file a motion seeking some relief related to the grandmother, Donna Adelson?
Yes, he did.
And what specifically was he seeking in reference to Donna Adelson?
He was seeking to limit her visitation rights to where they had to be monitored, supervised
By another adult.
That's correct.
And why in the pleading did Mr. Markel indicate that this supervision was needed?
Mr. Markel stated that that the children informed him that Grandma says you're stupid, and that she says you're trying to take your sunshines away.
That Grandma, meaning Donna Adelson,
That's correct.
was saying that Dan Markel, telling the kids that Dan Markel was stupid?
That's correct.
And what?
Now that's called legally parental alienation. And the idea was that Dan Markel was saying Donna was trying to undermine the children's affection for him, trying to alienate them from him and from his connection to them, and saying that's so dangerous, it has to be stopped. And so she shouldn't have visits other than supervised ones. Obviously, for a highly involved grandparent like Donna Adelson, that would be a red flag, something really upsetting. And that's what they say happened. So, we'll go ahead.
What was the thing that was expressly stated in these emails as the most important part of Wendi's whole divorce and litigation?
It was relocation to South Florida to be close to the family.
All right, and was there mention in those emails of a bribe that was to be offered to Dan Markel to potentially facilitate this relocation?
There was.
And who was going to pay for the bribe?
There was going to be a three-way payment between Donna and Harvey Adelson. We're going to pay 33% of it. Charlie Adelson would pay 33%, and then Wendi would pay the other 33%.
All right, and what was the total amount of this potential bribe?
$1 million.
The issue.
Obviously, the prosecution is saying that this was so important to Donna Adelson. She would get out there, collect the money from family members, and make sure this happened, do whatever it took to make sure she continued to have that connection with the kids. And when Dan got in the way, the prosecution says she decided to do whatever it took to make sure he would not continue to be in the way. So special shout out to Jay Tanner, a new member. And I do have a question from Nick about Donna and whether she is a victim of her own stupidity and a viable defense, or will the sting make her look like the mastermind? So I think that maybe less the sting and more these emails will really be difficult for Donna's team to get around. This is stronger, far stronger than what was proposed for Charlie's motivation. It was always a little strange. He didn't have an unusually close relationship with his nephews. I mean, it was close, but unlike Donna, who seems highly invested.
Issues surrounding your divorce and litigation is financially impacting in a negative way your parents' business?
That's what my mom says here, yes.
Okay, and it also says, additionally, this loss of income affects my family because my older brother, also a dentist, purchased the practice from my father in mid-July 2012. He has a monthly payment to make to my father based on the sale of the practice. It isn't fair to him to have decreasing monthly income statements from the practice due to my parents spending so much time here in Tallahassee. So this is an argument that your mom is proposing, right, to help you, give you an idea of what might persuade the courts to allow the relocation. Do you agree with that?
Yes, that's what she was doing, yes.
Okay, and she's indicating that both your parents as well as your brother have suffered financially as a result of you not being able to relocate.
Yes.
It reads, however, the rest of your life and consequently Dad's, mine, and yes, even Charlie's will be affected by how well you can perform/act before July 31st. You need to be a good actress you can be a good actress when you want to. I've seen you in action. You need to put on the performance of your life. Jibbers hasn't beaten the Adelson family yet. Who's Jibbers?
Jibbers, she's referring to Danny.
And was Jibbers a name he went by or just something you called him behind his back?
Jibbers was a silly nickname that I gave him during the divorce proceedings when he was being pretty scary and threatening, and it kind of made me feel less scared of him.
Is your mom?
So the prosecutor is saying it's not just that she wants to be with the kids. It's also that, and remember, this is all about Donna. This is in the middle of Charlie's trial, but it's all about Donna. And she's saying that it's not just the fact that Donna wants to be with the grandkids. It's also that it's costing her a lot to do that with the present setup. And it's costing them money directly because of the inability of Harvey to work because they're busy traveling back and forth to Tallahassee. And it's affecting Charlie financially as well. So it's more than one reason why she would want a change, why she would want Wendi to have full custody. Jay Tanner, thank you for that nice comment. I greatly appreciate that. And okay, so let's keep listening.
Overprotective of you?
Yes.
All right. And is it fair to say she's, a little on the controlling side?
I don't think she's controlling, but she's definitely overprotective.
Did she ever try to micromanage your life?
Maybe, yeah.
Does your mom manipulate the personal lives of her children?
No.
So many people listening to the testimony concluded that Donna was very manipulative, that she was trying to control things and trying to orchestrate the kids moving down to Miami. So that's what the state is trying to push on. They're trying to suggest that all of what we see her doing is related to trying to get what she wants, which is the children in Miami, and she would get easy access to them.
July 18th, 2014 says, Ms. Adelson, my parents are, very angry toward him. Is that true?
Was that
Isn't
true?
that what you said? Your parents were very angry toward Dan.
Can I read the rest of the sentence?
Sure.
So I say, my parents are very angry towards him, but even when they're around my kids, they would never say a bad word about my kid's father.
Didn't you say, it's like my parents have more reason to dislike Danny than almost anyone else? Is that what you said?
That is what I said.
And that's because he hurt you, right?
And I was saying that in the context of talking to law enforcement for hours and hours and trying to help them figure out who might be responsible.
Right. And who did you tell them might be responsible?
Well, I told them many, many people. But are you asking about this particular moment right here?
You told them your family might be responsible.
Or potentially someone to do with a former student or his current girlfriend. I mentioned lots of people that I thought could be responsible.
Okay. And of the lots of people that could have been responsible, your family was one.
Yep.
Because they might have done this thinking it would help you.
My mom never saw that.
So not good for Donna, right? It's her own daughter saying, yes, well, it's possible. My parents were among the list of people that could be considered as somebody who would want to kill Dan Markel, at least on the list. Now, there was even part of what I didn't play right at the beginning. The prosecutor asked her, Georgia Kappelman asked Wendi, well, aren't your parents very angry with Dan Markel? And she said, no, not really. I mean, I think we've moved past that, or we had by then, we've really moved past it. And she impeached her with this, where she had specifically said at the time Dan Markel was killed in an interview that her parents are really angry about this.
Because after he filed that, he then asked my parents to babysit the kids. My mom baked him banana bread, gave him a hug goodbye. So
Let me give a little context. So Wendi was saying that Donna had no idea that Dan Markel had filed that motion trying to keep Donna from getting unsupervised visitation with her grandkids. She didn't know that. That in fact, truthfully, Wendi was saying Dan didn't really mean that. He was just trying to get an advantage in the middle of this litigation, file something on this end, she would file on that end, and somewhere in the middle is what the judge would decide. It wasn't real. He didn't actually want Donna to be prevented from seeing her grandkids.
There was nothing truthful about that pleading that he filed, and my mom never saw it.
Why do you think he filed that?
He was really angry at me for leaving him.
Okay, so he didn't really want to limit your mom's visitation with the kids. Did your mom?
So Donna called across these emails. She called Dan Markel a number of names, some of which I have had to bleep out for YouTube sensitive ears. So we won't hear all the words, but she used a number of descriptive and adjectives, descriptive words and adjectives to describe him. And so again, this is something attributable to Donna that is not attributable to Charlie. It's not that it wasn't used and read at his trial, but these weren't things he directly said. Whereas when Donna is on trial, these are things she actually said, and they have emails about them.
Called Dan any disparaging names around this time frame?
Well, I just read them in the emails, but I don't remember them independently.
Okay. Did she call him
Yes.
a narcissist?
Yes.
A bully?
Yes.
Religious zealot?
Yes. That I don't remember.
I don't remember that one. So a prosecution theme was that Wendi felt really stuck in Tallahassee, and no one felt the fact that Wendi was stuck in Tallahassee more acutely than Donna Adelson, her mother. And Donna even suggested some outlandish ideas like converting the kids or pretending to convert them from the Jewish faith that Dan Markel and the Adelsons shared and pretending that they were being converted to Christianity.
What about the idea that you could try to threaten and to convert the kids to Christianity so that they can fit into the Bible Belt here in Tallahassee? Is that something your mom suggested in these emails?
My mom did suggest.
Let Jibbers know that your children will be baptized in the Catholic Church, have a picture made of them in front of the church, all that kind of thing. That's what your mom suggested at one time?
She did, yes.
Okay, and did you do any of those things?
No, I don't even think I responded to it.
Charlie brought up a good point when he said that Americans were dropped behind enemy lines during World War II wearing Nazi uniforms to get what they wanted. They had a job to get done, and they did what they needed to do to accomplish it. You have a job to get done in a very short time frame to accomplish it. If you dressed your kids up in Hitler Youth uniforms and brought them down here, I could care less
Charlie
if
laughing.
it was an act of defiance that would show Jibbers that he's, all caps and bold, not in control. So it just seems like your mom was pretty extreme about this situation of getting you relocated. Can you agree with that?
Yeah.
Pretty extreme would be the truth. Now, in this, we actually had a statement by Donna saying, well, suggesting she talked to Charlie about this, and Charlie brought up a good point when he said such and such. And so they had talked about it. So that linked straight to Charlie for Charlie's trial. But again, the original idea came from Donna Adelson. So this is far more directly connected to her than connected to Charlie Adelson. And that is something that we will definitely see in Donna Adelson's trial. You know, Dan Markel was upset because of what he was hearing from his kids that Donna was saying about him, about Dan when they were with Donna. That's why he filed that motion that there would only be supervised visitation. And Wendi talked about that.
On 3 specific occasions in November 2013, the children informed Mr. Markel, Abba, Dad, Grandma says you're stupid. When queried as to why Grandma, the maternal grandmother, would say such things, the children replied jointly that it is because she says you are trying to take her sunshines away from her.
And continue, please.
In December 2013,
You don't have to say the name.
Yeah.
Your child.
My child, the younger son, further stated to Mr. Markel in front of the former wife, Abba, Grandma says she hates you. The children were visiting with their grandparents at that time.
Mr. Markel is concerned that continued exposure to such negativity forms a foundation for parental alienation.
So this is a description from papers that Dan Markel filed with the court talking about what he felt like Donna Adelson was doing, what he was hearing from his own kids that she was trying to do when she was with the children. He wanted that to stop because he was concerned it would separate him from his kids, that they would no longer, that they would be influenced by those kinds of words and descriptions. Now, Dan Markel was killed before the court could hold any kind of hearing on this particular motion that had been filed by Dan Markel. Now, Wendi said that her mother had no idea that Dan Markel had filed this motion. She didn't know that Dan Markel wanted her to only get supervised visitation and nothing else. But the prosecution put in an email from Wendi to Donna and to 11 other people actually sending them this document.
Is it fair to say your mom was worried about this motion?
No, my mom never knew about this motion.
Well, you forwarded this motion to your mother.
I don't believe I
via
did.
Email. In fact, you forwarded this motion to 12 different people. Your mom.
And then they go through a lengthy description of how that happened and they introduce a document. But an additional issue is the very highly inappropriate / unfortunate joke by Charlie Adelson that he was going to hire a hitman to help his sister when he found out about the divorce, but he decided to buy her a TV because it was cheaper. So Wendi Adelson and the defense pitched that as just a joke. He was kidding. The prosecution says that's not really a joke. It's not funny. And in this case, it wasn't a joke at all.
It was always his joke. He said, I looked into hiring a hitman and it was cheaper to get you this TV. Is that what he said?
That was a joke that he made, yes.
And hiring the hitman, that was to kill Dan Markel, right? That was the joke.
That was the joke that he made in poor taste, yes.
So circling back to the TV issue, because there was the joke by Charlie that he would buy a TV or hire a hitman, and he went with the TV because it was cheaper. Well, in fact, he did buy her a TV. And on the day that Dan Markel was shot, it was broken, and broken in a way that the repair guy said he'd never seen anything like it. There was just kind of a hole shattered in the front. He said like someone had taken a sledgehammer to it. So coincidentally, Wendi and her mom were talking about that TV because Wendi was getting it repaired that very day, and her mother had called the repairman and made the arrangements for the repairman to come that day.
Your mom texted you that morning that the repair guy was coming to repair the TV.
I don't remember that.
Why would your mom have been involved in your TV repair appointment?
Because I didn't purchase the TV. The TV was a gift that my brother paid for, but my mom went and got it and he reimbursed her. So the contract would have been under her name and her number.
What was wrong with the TV that was repaired the morning of the murder?
I think one of my boys might have thrown something at it. There was like a little crack in the TV.
And the repairman said there was absolutely no possibility of repairing it with that kind of damage. So the prosecution says that the whole reason behind this repair was that the Adelsons wanted to give Wendi an alibi so that she would have someone to affirm that she wasn't there when Dan Markel was murdered. And the defense argued that even though Donna had numerous crazy ideas, that Wendi never actually went through with them, that she never actually took them to Dan Markel, and they were just ideas hatched in Donna's mind, but not connecting her or any of the Adelsons to the murder of Dan Markel.
It's fair to say that your mom came up with some crazy ideas.
Totally bonkers, yes.
Okay. We saw the email about conversion of the kids, right?
Yes.
By the way, did you ever do any of that?
No. No.
So you never dressed the kids up, you never baptized them, you never took a picture of them?
No.
Did your mom keep bugging you to do any of that stuff?
No, I think it was just one crazy email.
And it's a crazy email that's really going to hurt Donna Adelson when it comes time for the trial of Donna Adelson on the 19th. So the question is, looking at that, and that's just clips from the first trial, there will be new additional information too, and new additional evidence that's going to be presented. But just looking at that, how's the evidence piling up for Donna Adelson? Obviously, there was enough to arrest her, but that just means that there had to be probable cause that a crime was committed, that she was likely involved. Now we're at an entirely different level, because now the prosecution bears the burden of showing that Donna Adelson is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Obviously, a much higher bar that they have to meet. The state has quite a track record here, because they have one guilty plea and 3 convictions. Guilty plea from Luis Rivera and convictions from Sigfredo Garcia, and also Katie Medbanoa, and then Charlie Adelson. So they have a number of times that they have successfully prosecuted someone in this case. Our chief comparator, probably the one most comparable, most similarly situated to Donna, is Charlie Adelson, her son. He provided a surprise theory at trial that we talked about just a little bit ago. He said he had been blackmailed by 2 gang members who had killed Dan Markel and threatened to set him up. That he says in a moment of weakness, he told his mother what had happened. And so it was a coincidence then that she understood what the bump was about, because he had talked to her, she did understand, and that's why she went to him. Now, a lot of that would implicate Donna, at least with knowledge after the fact of what had happened. And the jury may believe much more than that. They did in Charlie Adelson's case. The jury didn't buy his defense. They clearly believed he was involved from the get-go. He was involved in hiring the hitmen. They convicted him very quickly. He is serving a life sentence right now. We don't know if Donna will use that exact same theory. If she does, I'm guessing that she will lose, just as Charlie Adelson did. Charlie is being brought down. Will he testify? Will he take the stand? Will he tell the same story? It would be hard, if he does, for Donna to say she didn't know, at least by the time of the bump, about how Charlie was killed. So Donna wasn't recorded at Dolce Vita like Charlie was. She wasn't actually there talking to Katie Medbanoa, and that's going to be a difference in her favor that was worse for Charlie. But she was the direct connection between the bump and the lunch where he met with Katie Medbanoa. So, and she really hurt herself with the flight to Vietnam, with some comments that she made in jail calls. On Monday, we are going to go over some of the comments that she made in jail calls that could really hurt her in this case. So if you aren't subscribed, be sure to subscribe with notifications on. And just to give you a heads up, we go live most days, most weeks, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So that's the plan for Monday. Now, the biggest problem for Donna is going to be that the motivation for her to have Dan Markel killed is far greater than Charlie's was. And Charlie was quite easily convicted. The jury wasted no time, came back right rapidly. Now, Charlie's theory was a surprise. Will Donna surprise us all with a theory at trial? Ultimately, a Tallahassee jury is going to decide, is Donna Adelson just a well-meaning, over-involved mother, or is she a cold-blooded murderer? So if you haven't hit the like button, would you please do that? I would appreciate it. And let's take some questions. If you have a question, and if you would put question marks at the beginning, we'll cover a few of those. And I do want to say, shout out to Mildred, just Mildred, who is now worried about even going to the dentist after the last 2 cases that we've covered. We had, of course, Charlie Adelson, the son of Donna Adelson, a periodontist, and his dad, Harvey, a dentist. And we just finished covering the James Craig trial. If you haven't watched those, go binge watch those. That is the wildest trial. You absolutely will be interested in watching that. All right. Thank you, Mildred, just Mildred. I appreciate that very much. Well, let me head over and see if some people have questions, and I put the question marks at the beginning, which will really help me spot them. Okay, I'm looking. Oh, here we go. Cooter Clapper wants to know, will the jury learn about the prior convictions in this case? Well, yes, sort of, because what will happen is that they come in prison attire, and that's what happened in Charlie's case. Now, Charlie distinguished himself by saying, they may have been convicted, but I am distinct from them. I am different from them. I had no connection with them. So the fact that they did it is proof I didn't do it, because I didn't have any connection with them. I never even met Sigfredo Garcia. So that's the kind of thing that I would expect would be argued. But I suspect it will be inescapable to the jury that they will realize. Norma Neves, will Donna take the stand? That is such an interesting question. Charlie did. And I've heard many people say that they think Donna just has to take the stand, because how else is she going to get out this theory, whatever it may be that she has? And I am very curious. Boy, that's going to be an amazing time if it does. I don't know. Charlie was very polished when he actually took the stand. He had been prepared. I mean, every answer smooth. It wasn't something, though, that the jury bought. So being smooth is obviously not the same as being believable, and the jury did not believe him. So what will happen? I don't know, but it'd be interesting to find out. Xana, do you think Wendi will be brought in too? Yes, I think that she will testify as well, or at least be brought in. And I don't see any reason why she would change the same thing she's done before. She's always accepted the partial immunity that she gets from testifying, and she's testified, and I would expect her to do about the same here. Be very interesting to see if the prosecutor takes a different approach in cross-examining her, or if it'll be pretty much the same. Lucy Luna, I wonder what will happen to Wendy's kids when she's wondering if they have been brainwashed by their mother. And I don't know, Lucy Luna. I don't know what they've been told, if anything, about, well, they would almost have to be told something. I mean, they would have to know a good deal about what's happening, but I don't know, how the family has approached it. I'm sure that is a great concern to the Markel family. And I know that they have been excluded from the kids' lives for the most part, with just, a little bit of involvement, but very, very little. Do you know the status of Charlie's appeal? I think it's still just pending. I don't know. There hasn't been a final resolution of it, I don't believe. It does take years, by the way. I mean, it can be a really long wait. When does the trial start? It starts on the 19th. So coming up about 3 weeks, so very quick. And let's see, looking for question marks at the beginning. That's my best shot of spotting your question. Okay, Kat asking, I heard someone make a prediction that Wendi could be arrested coming off the stand. Do you think that could happen? It's possible. I think that would be, I would think that as part of her willingness to testify for the state, that they might negotiate something around that won't happen. After all, they could get her at some other time. It doesn't have to be as she's coming off the stand. Now, it is a little more difficult because she lives in Texas now, but not way more difficult. They could fairly easily do it. So it could happen. Yes, it could happen. But I think that it also, I would think she would have thought of that and would be making that deal, passage in and out of the courthouse at least. Colleen Itchy Withers horse rescue. Oh, okay. Do you believe they have enough to convict Donna? I'm going to withhold on, my actual thoughts about the case or thoughts about whether Donna can be convicted. But I think that as we look at the evidence that got presented at Charlie's trial and that was persuasive enough to convince a jury to send him to prison, and he's there for life. But I think that the evidence is stronger against Donna in a number of ways. There are a couple of things that are less involved for Donna. For example, the actual giving of money to Katie Medbanawa, which Charlie said was a bribe, that sort of thing. So those sorts of things, not a bribe, extortion, those sorts of things are a little stronger for Charlie than for Donna, but I went through the ones where she was mentioned at trial, and most of those are stronger for Donna. So I do think it's going to be a strong case for the state. I really think we have to see what Donna does and what her defense does to really be able to assess that and make that call. Mason, is Georgia Kappelman a prosecutor for Donna's trial? Yes, she is still on the case, and it's exactly the same two prosecutors, in fact. So yes, they'll both be back. All right, I'm looking for, there we go. Moxie 77, will Harvey take the stand? I would be surprised if Harvey takes the stand. He did not take the stand at Charlie's trial. And now there are new issues around Harvey, not just the issues that relate to his involvement in this. And honestly, there is less evidence for him than there is for Donna, but it's not just that. There are also issues around whether or not Donna, Harvey were attempting to get people to assist them while they were in jail. We've gotten little hints about what this is. We have not gotten a clear explanation of what exactly the prosecution says is happening. So we will hopefully get more information about that as we move into trial. Maybe it's not even an issue. Maybe it's something where the prosecutor looked at it and said, yeah, no, that's not a real thing. But I would guess Harvey won't take the stand. Another question, though, will Harvey be present? That also would be interesting. Oh, thank you, Jay Tanner. I want to say thank you for the cred trial. I'm glad you enjoyed that. That is one of the most it was wild. It was wild from start to finish. Every day was just bombshells from the moment the WebEx came on until the end of the day. It was just nonstop. But it also was one of the most striking cases I've ever seen, just in terms of the sheer weight of the evidence and in terms of what it showed us about the last video I did. I called it betrayal because that's what it showed. And it really did show that I put it into a timeline because I felt like it was so dramatic when I did that. And you could watch the betrayal happen. So really go back and watch that video if you haven't. It was really, I think, one of the most interesting trials, and I think it was pretty important as you watch that. Disturbing, but very important. Does Wendi still have immunity, and will she testify again? She will be given the usual use immunity for coming to testify. So that will happen again. I don't know what else she may negotiate. It's not a full immunity at all. Did Donna testify at Charlie's trial? No, she didn't even come. So this is from I Wait for Money podcast. No, she did not testify. She, in fact, didn't even come to the trial. It was initially planned for her to come to the trial, and then there was a lot of back and forth, and eventually they didn't come at all. There was a question about whether they would be served while they were there and then have to testify, and so everybody stood down and they did not come at all. So they were not there as their son was tried and then convicted. All right. Well, on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we will be continuing with the Donna Adelson case. We're going to be looking at the prison calls or jail calls between Donna and Charlie and asking the question about what in these is going to make an impact in Donna's trial. Are there things she said and did that are going to make a difference at trial? So we're going to be listening in on those. We're going to be unpacking that. I will see you on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern.